Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you might be today. We hope to spend just a few minutes on some PowerPoint slides just to give you a background. We'd like to share with you what we're starting to see in the marketplace and why companies are looking to make investments in transportation management system. And one of the things that we've noticed almost immediately because of the black swan event of COVID-19 is that the TMS will become more important for companies to do this because they now know that they have to build in technology and process to prevent supply chain disruption from happening for them again. So we're seeing an uptick in inquiries in our conversations with industry experts. TMS is going to be becoming a much more important piece of an ecosystem technology stack going forward. So how can ProcessWeaver help out now and in the future? Just to give you a little background, we're entering our 15th year in business across the different markers there. You can see we are a global company in excess of 230 employees that are really committed to our customers, our partners' success. When it comes to the development and deployment of a transportation management add-on for the Sage ecosystems that were referenced. And again, we're really spend most of our time with Sage 300 and X3. And as the earlier comment says, we've been doing it for, successfully now for 5 years, and it's increasing at an accelerating rate because the technology or the transportation management market itself is growing at a double-digit pace. It is really something that is critically important now for companies that ship. That's the one caveat. So at the heart of what it is that we do, we're in the business to help companies, shippers, get the right item to the right customer at the time and place they need it to be. And they need in this world to do it as close as possible to 100% of the time. And they have to do it in 2 days, and they have to do it at the lowest possible cost because transportation is a big part of every company's spend. Now, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of complexity that goes into doing that. And not all of that is in the control of the customer or even within the Sage ERP system. So companies are looking to increase operational efficiencies and driving out costs like the introduction said, but it also needs to operate within various different ecosystems. So it's going to be Sage ERP, any maybe Sage ERP or ISV add-on, as it relates to transportation, because transportation rates, tracking information, costing information touches virtually every aspect of a business. If you think about, an e-commerce platform needing rates, if you think about needing to be able to make a proper carrier selection when you're creating a sales order, just the warehouse efficiencies that come into play. And then, of course, we have all the carriers all over the world that move product from point A to point B, and those are going to be parcel, LTL, full truckload, ocean, air, freight, and this new category of carrier called final mile, which can be a combination of all over the road type carriers, even including things like Uber service and various independents that take that product all the way through. And then it's about visibility, and we'll touch on that, but we probably spend more time talking about the visibility of the shipment than we do the actual product that's in the box. And Fred Smith from FedEx coined this many years ago, but it's truer than ever that the information about the shipment is as important as the product itself is. And we'll kind of explain that as we go through this. So our standard functionality is kind of built this way. We're going to be doing a demonstration here in just a few minutes to show you how operationally our product is leveraged with Sage. But this is going to give you just a high level view of where our customers, our mutual customers, are using this. So in the first place, we want to be one centralized system for all carriers for all locations so that you're accurately rating your freight based on weights and dimensions which carriers use. Now, this helps improve invoice accuracy, improves carrier invoice accuracy, so you're not having to spend an unnecessary amount of time auditing your freight bill. So it is a rating engine. It also does what we call logistics data quality checks. So what is that? We want to reduce the frequency of bad or missing data that's coming to us from Sage. So we'll do things like address validation. We'll do things like denied party screening if it's international. If it's hazardous goods, dangerous goods, hazardous material. We have all of this data quality compliance check because we want to prevent errors from impacting not only your business, but from impacting the time it takes for that package to get to your customer at the time and place they need it. So we have that layer built into the platform. And then we get into the transportation side of it, where we're going to weigh it, we're going to rate it. We may do rate shop. We may look for opportunities to consolidate shipment or orders into fewer shipments. So this serves to reduce transportation costs, and it gives you more carrier options. One of the things that COVID-19, according to Gartner, is having more carrier options is something that the company is going to have going forward, because these carriers themselves are infected, or not infected, impacted by COVID-19. So going forward, you're going to find companies, rather than 3 or 4 or 5 carriers, now we're going to have 12 or 13 or 14. Now, to manage that is more complex than to manage the 3 or 4. So this is what this platform can allow you to do. It's very easy to manage those carriers. And then it's the execution itself, right? Okay, so we got the weights, and we have a shipper that's at a workstation, and that's what you'll see during the demonstration. And we know that transportation is very paper-based. There's labels that go on boxes that say UPS and Canada Post and Purolator and DHL. And then we have labels coming out. We've got international documents coming out, hazardous material shipping papers, commercial invoices. So the execution itself happens, and there are a number of benefits to that. We stay in compliance with our carriers and regulatory agencies. We do not want erroneous documents going with our shipments, because they get held up on a cross-border move. They don't make the delivery on time. They get returned. So the documents have to be accurate. And then we want to communicate with the carrier. Again, in today's world, a buyer, whether it's a consumer or a business, they want to know where their package is 24/7, 365. So they want to be alerted at the time of shipping that the package has shipped, or it's at least been prepared for shipping. And then they can monitor that inbound. You can monitor it outbound if you're a shipper, and if you're a receiver, you can monitor it inbound. So the sooner we get that tender information to the carrier, the more real-time that visibility is. And there is no exception. Now, it has to be real-time visibility. Knowing where my package is at tomorrow at noon, when I place the order at noon today, is not good enough. They want to know where it is hour by hour, and especially true with parcel carriers, right, where they receive a lot of updates and SMS alerts and emails and so forth. And then it's the track and trace. So this goes back to my earlier comments about visibility. Our platform does provide, and we'll show you during the demonstration here in just a couple of minutes, how other business users, other than the shipping and the warehouse, leverage the data that's inside of the xCarrier platform for purposes of providing enhanced customer service. In today's world, the customer is increasingly in charge of how you ship that package to them and what they want to see. And if you can't provide it to them digitally or on the internet via email, and if they call in, you need to have that information being just a click or two away. And we do that. We pass back information to Sage ERP so customer service can get the tracking number and all of that. But if they need to get into the weeds, get really detailed, like get a copy of the proof of delivery, things like that, from within the Sage ecosystem, depending upon how yours looks, those documentations is always available to you. And we'll show you that during the demonstration. And then it's about getting back information to Sage. This product has been designed to help companies that either are looking at Sage ERP, have Sage ERP, better leverage their investments than they've already made or are going to make, because it operates as a very smooth business add-on, like many of the products that are out there and available from different ISVs. But at the heart of our system, we're a carrier compliance system. We support about 230 different carriers across all different modes. Our shippers utilizing our platforms are in the tens of thousands in about 90 different countries. So it is a true global system that is scalable in terms of whether you're shipping 30 orders a day or 100,000. If you're shipping from one location or you're shipping from 101 locations, this is an enterprise class product that has been brought down into the mid-market, which is really where we concentrate with Sage. So I want to go through real quickly some business benefits and see if these resonate with everybody that is on the call today. So again, we've talked about improving operational efficiency, getting away from manual processes, multiple systems, because that just creates complexity, and complexity creates errors, just like manual. So we do want to help businesses manage more carriers because we know that things constantly change. You know, a customer of theirs may want a new carrier doing this. And again, it's about reducing costs, operational costs. Okay, so that's people cost inside the warehouse if we think about the fulfillment process, as well as reduce transportation costs by doing comparative rate analysis. What's the best carrier that can take the freight, still get it where the customer needs it to at the time they need it, but do it at the least possible cost. And then we talked about the supply chain visibility improvement. Some of this will be a little redundant from my earlier comments. And then it's about the data, and we'll show you what that means. So this is from a recent, fairly recent Gartner publication that talks about, based on client feedback, they surveyed about 300 of their customers, and they said, based on your operational costs present, if you implement a TMS, what can you look for in savings? So if you look down at this key, out of the respondents, 45% said that they saved 5% or less here, but the biggest one is the 45% save between 5 and 10%. So if you look at your total operational costs, you can see how this is broken down. Very, very few companies saw no savings at all. And again, TMS has a lot of different functionality, but I thought, you know, if you wanted to read more on these Gartner feedbacks, there is a significant ROI. When we've worked with partners and customers, we've really been able to demonstrate a significant ROI. These typically pay for themselves in 4 to 6 months based on the automation and some of the other things that we'll be showing you during the demonstration. And then there's a lot of soft benefits, which we don't necessarily, or not necessarily always able to quantify, but they are huge benefits. One is customer satisfaction, getting it there, the person on the phone being able to answer the question, getting that email shipment confirmation that comes out of our platform. And then the efficiencies will be pretty, I think, well, you'll be able to see the benefits in terms of automation, eliminating multiple systems, manual processes. And then there's just the new carriers that we talked about. What does the marketplace hold for us 1 or 2 years from now when it comes to terms of what carriers are we going to use to get it from point A to point B? There's a lot of cash flow, recognizing revenue on the delivery of a product, recognizing revenue on the shipment of the product. We monitor those statuses so we can have companies invoice faster, recognize the revenue. That's one financial benefit, but also to trigger out invoices quicker. And then again, access to a lot more carriers. Yeah, we have a lot of competitive displacements where they're using a shipping application that supports 5 or 6, but they use 12 or 13. So their technology really chokes their ability to really leverage to the greatest possible extent the relationships that they have with those carriers. And then it's about the compliance. This is a compliance platform. We have to make sure that we are in compliance not only with our carriers, but regulatory agencies that monitor international shipments, with regulatory and international agencies that monitor the movement of dangerous goods. And then, of course, it's always about increased customer engagement. If they're happy with delivery, if they're happy with visibility, if they're happy that you're responding quickly, obviously they are engaging with you in a lot of different platforms. And that all makes for a better customer experience. And that's what most businesses are in business to do and want to do going forward. All right, so that is just to give you a high-level overview of ProcessWeaver and what businesses are considering and looking at and evaluating in terms of, should I make these investments? What's my cost of doing nothing? What's my cost of doing something? So what we're going to do right now is we're going to show you how our solution is used by businesses running Sage ERP, and hopefully some of these cost justifications and industry observations that I've just made will make more sense. All right, so I'm going to move over here into our shipping platform, and let's go ahead and start at the beginning. So This is an external application that is integrated with either, in this case, I'm demonstrating with Sage X3, but Sage 300. It doesn't really matter to us what platform or even what version, right? And we have customers that are on multiple versions going back a number of years. But so I'm going to demonstrate this as Shipper Dave. I'm out in the warehouse, and it's my job to get UPS, FedEx labels, Canada Post labels on boxes, so it gets on the truck and gets to the customer at time and places. I'm producing bills of lading. I'm producing commercial invoices. It's my job to pack and ship, or it's my job if you're picking and packing within the Sage environment, you can go ahead and do this. My first demonstration is my responsibility as Shipper Dave today is I'm packing and shipping this solution out. So in order to do that, I'm going to go into my shipping responsibility. And now you need to visualize. This is out in a warehouse. It's on a PC workstation. There's printers attached. There's scales attached. So pretty traditional warehouse workstation functionality. A small number of our customers do this more portably. They may have a Microsoft Surface on a forklift or something like that. This is built in HTML5, so it is usable from multiple browser experiences. But I now have been delivered a number of items to pack and ship. And that's setting the stage. So in this example, it's been picked, but it hasn't been packed. And the xCarrier platform, we're going to pack it and ship it and show you what that experience, that user experience is like. So it all begins by scanning in a delivery number or a sales order number. And that's going to pull all the information that is required for this shipment to be packed and shipped. That just got pulled from Sage, where it's going to. I've got an email address in here. That platform will send out a shipment confirmation email. That email will be branded, or it could be branded with the company's logo. It could look like a packing list. Some of our customers put a marketing message or a seasonal message in here. Some of our customers have multiple messages based on whether they're shipping to a customer, whether they're shipping to a distributor. There can be a business rule. There can be business rules that generate the output the way that you want to, without writing a lot of custom code. This is a FedEx ground. Now that carrier may have been determined at time of sales order creation. Our system, based on weights and where it's going to and what the product is, we have a business rules, an optional business rules engine that lets you build business rules around making smart carrier decisions. But we'll talk about that in a minute. So from a packing perspective, you can see that these line items have been brought in. I've got a large number of them here. I'm not going to sit here and scan all of these, but just to give you an idea, what we have is we have one routine that is pack verification. So as we're putting items in boxes, or we're putting boxes on skid, we're validating that they do belong. So you can see that my partial quantity is increasing. And then once that box is full, I can pack it. All right, so that's pack verification. The result is the creation of a unique carton ID that we call a handling unit. And those are the 6 items that I captured inside of that box. The other way to do it is to come in here and type in 94 and pack it. Or what I can do is I can say, I don't want to scan all of these. I don't want to type it in. I just want to pack all. So the put away into the box, and we can even cartonize this too. We have a cartonization option that says, okay, I got all these items. I want to know how many boxes I should put them in and how should I pack them. I mean, we can spend time on additional demonstrations. I just want to get in as much as possible, but that is also another option. So now I have all my boxes packed. They could be weighed. Okay, so I can read from the scale, or I can type this in, or if I have known weights on the products, I can bring that in as well. Now we know in parcel we have weights and DIMs when we ship parcel. So if you want to, you can capture the box type at a lot of different areas. This could be the box type. It could be done at the time of pack. This is just going to put the dimensions in, right? Based on that box that was packed by that packer, in this instance, the packer and the shipper. And again, this is integrating 2 processes into one through a single user experience. So once I have the 3 boxes packed, I can do now a lot of different things. I can do a comparative rate analysis to find out, is there a less expensive way to go than FedEx? And I'm just going to do an ad hoc one. This is usually a background process where the shipper doesn't necessarily need to be involved or make a decision. If you want them involved to make a decision, make a decision. If you want them involved to make a decision, they can. What it's doing is it goes out. We're digitally integrated with all these carriers. So what it actually did is it went out to Canada Post, it went out to FedEx, it went out to the post office. I think probably UPS and others, and it gives you options of what carrier you might want to have automatically selected, or you could actually select one if you wanted to. So it will do that comparative analysis. One thing I did fail to mention is that when we bring the address in, it will validate the deliverability of that address. So we do have address validation built in. That's one of those logistics data quality checks. So at that point, we're ready to execute the shipment. This is actually now updating Sage. It is tendering the shipment to the carriers. The labels, the documents, and everything are printing out. The shipper's done packing and shipping this order and has moved it on to the very next box. But let's kind of unpack, I guess, what we just did so I can explain it and show you some other neat functions built into the platform. All right, so this is the FedEx shipment that we just did during this demo scenario. And I'm bringing this transaction back into the UI because I want to show you some things. So we've processed this package. Now we have a tracking number associated with that unique carton ID. So at the tracking number level, you now know what is in that particular box. That's very important when you're shipping a lot of boxes to a customer and they get that packing list. They can actually look at that one important part they need is in box 2 of 20, and they can go directly to that box. So getting the customer information is also helpful on the receiving side. All right, so we did pretty traditional things. We rated the freight. Again, we're digitally integrated with the carrier, so these are contract rates, published rates. The fuel surcharges are kept up to date. There is not a lot of rate and rate card tariff maintenance necessary within the platform. And then, of course, we would have produced whatever the documents would have been for a domestic shipment, international shipment, LTL shipment. But shipper, of course, would see that come out of the printer. You can't see my printer, so I'm just popping the image up on the screen. That's what the output was for this transaction. Remember, that was a 3-box order. So that's 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and 3 of 3. So we complied with our carrier. And now we've complied with our customer because they want a specialized packing list. All right, so this is the packing list and with the descriptive information, and we've complied with what our customer wants. So we complied with carriers, we complied with our customer, and we're good to go. These documents stay permanently within our platform so that you can always come back, reprint them, view them on the screen like we just did, or maybe I need to email one of these documents. Maybe my customer has a requirement where that you have to attach a picture of the skids that are being shipped. That's no problem. We can upload anything we need to. If a photograph goes to the network server or a local PC, we can attach documents here as well. We do this with some customers that need to ship product with SDS sheets and some other things. Again, trying to centralize in one area, whether it's within xCarrier or a document storage within Sage or a Sage add-on. Again, having quick access to this information is pretty important. Okay, all right, so I'm going to do another quick transaction here. This is without the packing. So it's really simple here to turn packing off. We make this system very configurable. So I'm going to turn the packing functionality off, and I'm going to ship that same shipment as if it's already been picked and packed in Sage. All right, let me turn my scanner back on, and we'll scan the same order. All right, so now this is going and pulling in the same information, but what is pulling in is the actual packing results from Sage. It's been picked and packed in Sage. I just need to ship it, And once it comes in, the weight is read from the scale, and we click Ship Now. This is how we get into high transaction throughputs. So whether you're shipping 30 or 30,000 a day, this system can process and print labels every 2 or 3 seconds. Of course, that's all dependent upon how fast your printers are and things of that nature. So those are 2 different workflows that I changed over with just a click of a button. All right, so I'm going to process one other transaction because not everybody ships out parcel. And that will include, let me do a time check. Yeah, we're still good. All right, so this is a heavier weight shipment. The process doesn't substantially change whether this is an LTL shipment, a full truckload shipment, something that you're building for an air freight shipment or an ocean shipment that you're utilizing a freight forwarder, for example, is going to carry or actually provide for the transportation. The process is substantially the same. The rating is different, of course, and the communication with the logistics service provider or carrier is different. But from a usability point of view, not much has changed. You can see now the screen is dynamically changed. It knows it's an LTL, so I have class of freight. Maybe you want to capture the number of boxes on the skid or the pallet. Maybe you're rating based on class of freight, an FAK. Maybe you're NMFC driven. Maybe you're doing dim and distance. Again, we're going UPS freight. And when we process that shipment, if their test system's not down, it tends to come down at the most inopportune times during demonstrations like this. But we successfully shipped that. Now the shipper is going to see a whole nother series of documents come out. Well, what's that shipper going to see now? Let's go back in and look at that UPS freight shipment. And like it did with parcel, it would have rated the freight. I think this is okay. And then, of course, we have a little bit different output. We have a skid label. Maybe a skid label needs to be applied. This can be just any generic knit label. We optionally provide a forms and label editor that lets you take control over the development, if you want to, of those documentation requirements. Of course, I have a bill of lading. In this example, I specifically requested that UPS provide me one. So as part of that real-time integration, UPS sent me back a copy of their bill of lading. A lot of companies just standardize on a bill of lading, and that's just fine. That can work as well. And again, the packing list we saw before. So this is all stored. Optionally, we will be releasing in Q3 an electronic bill of lading, which actually will allow you with a Microsoft Surface or an iPad to actually capture the driver's signature on that bill of lading. And so all of these documents, again, can be made available, and you can store them wherever you need to have them stored. All right, so again, what we did through these transactions is we want to make sure that we're weighing correctly, we're rating correctly, we're doing these checks, data quality checks, address validation, denied party screening, whatever that might involve, so that when our documents are produced, they're correct. When we're transmitting to the carrier, they're correct. When we are communicating that email shipment confirmation, what we call a poor man's ASN, it's getting to the customer with accurate information, and it's going to help that all along the way. All right, so let's go into some other areas of the business. Now, I'm not necessarily the shipper. All right, I might be a transportation manager, I might be an operations manager, I might be customer service. Everything that is transacted through our platform. So far we've got everything. The data that came in from the sales order or the delivery, from the Sage ERP. We've now appended to that with outbound shipping information. And then we're going to add some other information that's going to be made available, but that is all contained within the shipping manifest. So we capture all the transactional detail. This is sitting in SQL Server. So in our deployments, we typically deploy within the Sage ecosystem. So we're just putting our tables into your existing SQL instance. So this data is available to you to data mine with any kind of report writer or BI tool. We're going to show you this fairly simple tool that we provide here. You can just see UPS, Freight, and FedEx is what we process in the 2 demo scenarios. And again, this is just kind of a spreadsheet looking view of the different data that we captured as part of this shipping transaction. Who took the freight? How much did it cost? What's neat about this is that all of these fields are searchable. I can modify what view of this data I want to see by simply checking and unchecking. So there's nothing too erroneous or too onerous in terms of developing the view that you want to. And then you can run queries and so forth by accessing the filtering capability. So if I'm a transportation manager and someone asks me how much did we spend with UPS and FedEx over the last, how many packages, how much do we spend? It really doesn't matter. We can filter on that. And what we're doing is we're getting totals at the top. Well, we shipped 55 shipments at 656 pounds. These totals up here are changeable. It could be just as easily be cost, and cost could be blue and weight could be orange. You can even change the colors here. And this is just a query. Maybe I'm done. That's all I needed. I was on the phone. I got that information to who needed it in just a few clicks in a few seconds. But maybe I do want to print it out. So I can print this report out. Maybe your organization does amazing things with Excel and pivot tables and all of that, and this will export out the data. So this is shipping data. Now, what we also talked is this is a visibility platform. So there is additional data set. Remember that we're digitally integrating to these carriers. So once a day, twice a day, a half a dozen times a day, depending upon the need for real-time visibility, we're pinging and we're modifying and we're making tracking requests. So for any of those who have been online and tracked a parcel or tracked an LTL, there's different data sets. We'll show you a slightly different view of manifest that's specifically designed maybe for a customer service person, where they would go in, enter a PO number, enter a sales order number, and or in this case, I just have some transactions. I've got a hyperlink. So if I'm an organization that absolutely loves FedEx.com, because I've been using it all my life, it can take them directly to the carrier website, and you can do anything that you want in the carrier website to get visibility, to grab a proof of delivery, whatever it is that you might want to do. All right, that's kind of cool, and some companies opt to do that. But what we can also do, because we're digitally integrated, is we can remove the need to go to each carrier website. I mean, if you get 10 carriers, you're going to 10 carrier website, and we can pull in all the transactional data within this platform and then normalize it, right? So FedEx looks the same as UPS, it looks the same as Canada Post, it looks the same as Purelator. And then if you want to, we can map plot it. Once you have the data, you can do things on maps and all other kinds of things that are from a reporting and an analytics point of view. You can do a lot of things once you have that data. And then for those companies where it's critical to store proof of delivery, we time date stamp the delivery. Maybe we recognize revenue on that event. Who signed for it by the name that was entered in. And then of course we can also, for parcel carriers primarily, right? And then a few within that subset of carrier, we can capture this. Well, why do we want to capture milestone data? Why do we want to capture the image? Well, the carriers get rid of that data after a while. So if your governance is that we have to keep all data for 1 year or 7 years, this data can be stored and archived so that if you do get an audit and have to go back and produce transportation documents and all of that information is going to be made available to you. All right, so that's the visibility of it. We have an advanced track and trace that will alert you to supply chain exceptions. So this is a component-based build and add what you need type of platform. So we've talked about a lot of different things. Some of them are optional, and I've intentionally tried to identify those as optional. And I'm sure there'll probably be some questions related to that that then Brendan will handle here, as I'm soon to pass over to him. Brendan, so that's your alert that I'm coming close to the finish line on my part. But again, if we go back to what we were originally talking about, our companies, our partners, when they deploy this platform, they're looking to automate. They're looking to reduce errors, shipping errors. One of the most under-examined problems in shipping. If I have a 5-box shipment and that address is wrong, I get dinged 5 times for address correction. Okay, if I produce an erroneous commercial invoice, it gets held up at the border. All right, so we want to make sure that we eliminate. We want to rate correctly. We have to invoice correctly. We want to rate correctly. That means dimensional weighting or rating. If I'm not dimensionally rating, you could be upside down on the profitability of a particular sale. If you don't put the dimensions of a large box and the transportation cost that you thought was going to be $12 turns out to be $112, we catch all of those errors. And then the last piece of the data puzzle is the carrier invoice data. We do, as we digitally integrate with the carriers, we can bring in the carrier invoice data, really giving you a solid data, transportation data repository to do with it whatever you want. That's analytics, that's freight auditing. These are some other optional modules that we handle. So hopefully we've provided you, and there's a lot more functionality. We could spend another 30 minutes talking about additional functionality. We wanted to cover kind of the core here, share that with you, share some industry insights into this, and hopefully this has been an informative session for you. So at this point, we've got doing a time check. We're about 15 minutes before the top of the hour. And Mr. Cosgrove, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dave. Excellent job as always. While we're waiting for a question, I think I'll just see one that popped up. One talked about the consolidation ability within Sage, either Sage 300 and Sage X3. Yes, there's ability in which we can do combine multiple deliveries from Sage and provide a consolidated shipment with our functionality that's part of the xCarrier platform that David represented here today. So that is an added module that we have as part of our package. And another question's coming in that I see regarding business rules engine. So yes, again, this is another capability within the tool. Based on the business rules, we can determine the cost of the shipment that you might have. If a certain customer provides a value amount of goods, you may offer them free shipping. Or if you might have below a markup of, let's just say, 10% for certain customers based on the zone coverage or shipping within Canada or United States, you may have a higher operational cost for packages. And we can fluctuate that margin for shipping by business rules. This can be by cost, by customer, by product. And these are business rules that Dave is kind of showcasing as I'm answering the question here as well, that we provide you the ability to design those rules on the fly with your own IT administrator or Sage administrator. Okay, we see one more question coming in. As far as the labels, we know that question is based around EDI customers and addressing labels for Amazon or Wayfair, or it looks like a Home Depot here. Yes, we have the ability in the standard operations. We can adjust the labels to be compliant with large brick and mortar or large retailers to comply with their label requirements. But we also have the ability to provide a forms editor which allows you to design, whether pulling fields from Sage or xCarrier, in order to design those labels as you see fit. So this is another enhanced capability that we've created because of the flexibility we've noticed in the industry with large retailers. They are having compliantary label requirements to ensure their supply chain visibility, whether that be at Amazon or the large retailers, as I mentioned, like a Target or a Walmart, etc. And Dave was good in supporting me as I was answering these questions. And thank you all. Everybody have a wonderful day. Take care.